In this lesson we're going to think a little bit more about how we use inversions of chords. We'll start by looking at the top here, the top middle, and we can see we've got the G major chord, chord 1, and it's in root position. The root position chord is a so-called 5-3 chord using figure bass. And what that means is the chord contains a third above the bass and a fifth above the bass. Now the root position chord is a consonant chord, and the reason why it's consonant is because these intervals, the third and the fifth, are consonant intervals. If you look at the first inversion of a triad, you can see that this is a 6-3 chord. That's also a consonant chord because the 6 and the third are also consonant intervals. However, the second inversion chord here is not a consonant chord, it's a dissonant chord, and the reason for that is its figure bass is 6-4, and the fourth is a harmonic dissonance, so we're not allowed to have harmonic fourths. Those are dissonances. So when you're harmonizing anything, you can quite comfortably use the root position chord or a first inversion chord, but you should, generally speaking, avoid using second inversion chords because they are dissonant. And so far, generally speaking, we have been using root position chords with occasional first inversion chords to avoid parallels or to reinforce some kind of harmonic function. So let's think about ways in which we might actually use second inversion chords, because it is possible. Up here we have two ways in which this can be done. There's the passing 6-4 and the cadential 6-4. We're going to look at the passing 6-4 first of all. In the previous lesson we learned about how to use passing notes in order to join up bass notes or just enhance the music a little bit. Passing note was joining one consonant note to another consonant note, the passing note itself being dissonant. So what's going on up here is we have a G going to an A going to a B in the top part, and a B going to an A going to a G in the bottom part. So we have in the middle, for both A's, chord 5 in second inversion. And the reason why we can have that dissonant second inversion chord here is because it's passing from the G to the B in the top part and from the B to the G in the bottom part. So in a sense the whole chord is passing. This is a passing chord, and that's how we can use it use the second inversion. So what I've done down at the bottom here is I've replaced the notes that we originally did have. We had a B going to a D going to a G, and I've taken this little figure G A B B A G and slotted it in to the bottom line here so that we have this passing 6-4 chord on the second beat here. Let's have a listen to that. So one thing to note is that this happens when the melody goes 1, 2, 3. What do I mean by 1, 2, 3? Well, that's to say it's the first degree, the second degree, and the third degree of a G major scale, in this case, of the major scale. When the melody goes 1, 2, 3, the bass will go 3, 2, 1. So you get this contrary motion effect going on. It could work in reverse. The melody could go 3, 2, 1, and the bass could then go 1, 2, 3. In fact, it needn't be the melody that goes 1, 2, 3. It could be one of the other parts. For example, the D, the repeated D here, could actually be at the top. But we'll keep things straightforward for the moment. We'll just look at this in the melody and in the bass. So the melody goes 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1 in the bass. Melody goes 3, 2, 1. The bass goes 1, 2, 3. Then you harmonise it with chords 1, 5 and 1, and then you just use the top-down method. I'll just do that for you. I'll take that note out. We'll do the top-down method just so you can see it working in practice. So there's our G coming down to a D, and I've already got the B in the bass, the B being the middle note of the triad, the third of the chord. Coming down, each note of D major, and coming down each note of G major. So that we end up with what we had originally, just using the top-down method at that point. Okay, there's another kind of 6-4 chord we can use, or a place in which we can use the 6-4 chord. and that's at the cadence. And when you have at the cadence a melody going 3, 2, 1, that's to say third degree of the scale, second degree of the scale, first degree of the scale, in this case we're in G major, B, A, G, it's possible to use the 6/4 cadence. So at this point, instead of just using chord 1, we can make that chord 1 second inversion. So how does that actually work? Well, what's actually going on, if we look up here, we've got chord 1 in second inversion, but it's actually more like an appoggiatura. When you listen to it, it will feel more like chord 5. So we can write it 1, 6/4, indicating second inversion, going to 5, going to 1, but an alternative way of writing this is given below, which indicates the whole thing, the chord 1 going to 5 really feels like chord 5, and then you have a 6/4 resolving to 5/3. So thinking more of this point being an appoggiatura. So our score here we have it in our little piece. It's an appoggiatura from here coming down to this point here. Let's have a listen to that. So I'll play from the beginning of the phrase and see what we think of it. A couple of things to note. In the 6/4 cadence, the bass part is always doubled. Now if we use our top-down method, which we have here, that will be the case. The bass note will be doubled. But what we don't want is to double the B or the G in, say, in the tenor part here, because the G is the dissonant note, it's the 4th, so it really has to resolve down to the 3rd, as indicated here by this line. And running in parallel to that, in parallel thirds I suppose, we have the B. It really wants to resolve down to the A, the 6 coming down to the 5. So in a sense there's a resolution here, and if you double one of those notes, say in the tenor part, it will have the same downward tension, which you can't then have that because it will be parallel. So if you double the bass part, that solves that problem, and indeed if you use the top-down method, you won't encounter the problem whatsoever. A couple of additional little things we need to think about when we're using these chords. If we return to the passing 6/4, the crucial thing about the passing 6/4 is that the 6/4 chord itself always comes on the weak beat. So if we look at our score here, that's the strong beat, we're in 4/4, that's the weak beat, and that's the strong beat. Strong, weak, strong. So the 6/4 comes at the weak point, whereas when we come to using the cadential 6/4, the second inversion chord at the cadence, the second inversion chord comes on the strong beat. And the reason for that is it is behaving like an appoggiatura. The appoggiatura always occurs on the strong beat, so in order to create the correct effect, it has to come there at that point. So cadential 6/4, the 6/4 comes on the strong beat and resolves to the weak beat. In the passing 6/4, the chords either side of the 6/4 are on strong beats, and the passing 6/4 comes on the weak beat. So with that in mind, just listen to the whole thing just once more.